Hello, all, and welcome to the Taylor Seminars, where we talk about how Taylor Swift turns life into poetry. My name is Hannah. Exquisite, do you want to say hello?
Hello, Hannah.
Exquisite's laughing because she messed up our take, like, right before. Well, we are here to talk about the latest track, track 8, Florida, from the Tortured Poets Department, the second feature of this album. Have we had
Yeah,
once? Did
because
Midnight's?
Midnight's didn't
Ha-
only had Lana.
yeah, right. And then Evermore had
Evermore
two.
had two features as well.
Yeah, and Folklore had
Folklore
one.
didn't have it.
No, it had
Wait,
one.
no, Folklore had one.
Yeah, Bon
I-
Iver.
Wait, no, that means Evermore had three features.
Why?
Bon Iver.
Well, so technically she only credited Bon Iver on Evermore. Oh no, three with Haim.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. I love our little
Times
tangents.
on Nobody, No Crime. We just forget because Taylor she put them in the background like she does most female singers. Except she didn't do that to Florence this
Yes,
time. Everybody
Florence.
was so scared of that. And I said, Florence definitely got a verse.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And it's such a fun, I love this song.
I do. Anytime someone says Florida, I can't not do bum 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 bum.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like once you heard those drums, that's when Taylor added all those exclamation points.
Yep. It needs them. It needs more exclamation points, actually. It needs um seven exclamation points.
um, so yeah, so we already mentioned her, but it's written by Taylor Swift and Florence Welch.
Yep.
Um, but it is not produced by Florence, which I thought it might be. It's only produced by Jack and Taylor.
And Jack has worked with Florence before. They did like her excellent most recent album. Jack's everywhere. And a lot of people wouldn't know Jack produced Florence because they expect him just to be a synth person. Like, when will people learn that Jack just does what the people he's working with wants?
Yeah, yeah. But Florence did do percussion, drums, and piano. So she did
Hmm.
put her fingerprints all over this song, which is really cool. I mean, you guys wouldn't know this, but Exquisite and I have actually talked a lot about Florence and the Machine prior to this album even coming out.
Yeah. Um, Again, she has a song called King that I feel like Taylor heard and was like, I wish I wrote that. Because Taylor has mentioned she gets song envy sometimes. And I know she heard it and was like, I need to call Florence back up.
Yeah, it's very common for songwriters to be influenced by each other and say, "Do you want to?" Actually, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna read a little bit of the lyrics from King, so just so you guys can kind of feel what Exquisite's talking about. Um, I'll just read a little bit of it. We argue in the kitchen about whether to have children and about the world ending and the scale of my ambition and how much is art really worth. The very thing you're best at is the thing that hurts the most. But you need your rotten heart, your dazzling pain like diamond rings. You need to go to war to find material to sing. I am no mother. I am no bride. I am king. I love that.
Just yeah, just so excellent, so excellent. And Florence has literally said that Taylor, you know how in the manuscript she's like the professor says to write what you know. Taylor was that professor to Florence many years ago. And Florence credits Taylor for being like, you just need to write your truth and write what happened. And she gives her a lot of credit for that. So they did not just meet. They've known each other.
Yeah, I really actually like that interview where I think that's why that album that the song King is on is so good. Like it is all
I know.
about her, a woman in her 30s, like about, like what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to have these desires and not know what to do with them or have a partner who doesn't understand them? It's a really powerful record.
Everyone's stream Dance Fever. Or she put together an anthology of songs, which is hilarious. That is also an anthology called Under Heaven and Over Hell, which if you don't know who Florence is, that's a pretty good place to start to get an overview of all. She basically put like a greatest hits together.
I like how none of us put that anthology connection together till just now.
Nope.
Good, good job, Exquisite.
I did it on accident. So, Hannah, what has Taylor said about Florida?
Okay, so the song, right? Not the place
Yeah,
necessarily.
not the place.
Yeah, so Taylor did one of those iHeartRadio like behind the scenes of the songs when the album came out, and she said this little thing. I'll read it out loud. Florida is a song I wrote with Florence and the Machine, and I think I was coming up with this idea of what happens when your life doesn't fit, or your choices you've made catch up to you, and you're surrounded by these harsh consequences and judgment and circumstances. Judgment and circumstances did not lead you to where you thought you would be, and you just want to escape from everything you've ever known. Is there a place you could go? Haha, I'm always watching Dateline. So Dateline is an American TV show where they talk about crimes. People have these crimes that they commit where they immediately skip town and they go to Florida. They try to reinvent themselves, have a new identity, blend in. And I think when you go through a heartbreak, there's a part of you that thinks, I want a new name, I want a new life. I don't want anyone to know where I've been or know me at all. So that was kind of what that was. The jumping off point behind where would you go to reinvent yourself and blend in? Florida.
Yes, literally Florida. And then Florence has Florence said that the Taylor she knows is kind of down to earth, but she hadn't like made that connection between Taylor and Taylor Swift till the song came out, and she was like, it's so big in a good way. But she put on her story that she was a department head of haunted houses, and then she said that Florida comes from the Department of Hurricanes and Haunted Lace, and that Taylor approached her with this idea um, of a song, as Hannah just mentioned. And Florence says that's one of her favorite ways to write a song is coming forth from an idea. And so she got like this anthology book of short stories called Florida, um, in like the swamps of Florida, and that's where they did all their work. So this is not Florida where we're thinking like Orlando.
Disney
Think
World.
Florida as in like, yeah, think Florida as in like the Everglades, and Florida as in, well, she literally says it, Destin. Like think think like trash. Like you can hide away. Not trash. Sorry to the great state of Florida. LOL. But Florida, as in not the shiny parts, the real parts of Florida.
Yeah, the swampy parts,
Yeah.
the crocodile parts. Alligator? Crocodile. Which one is in Florida?
Both.
Oh,
Let's just. I think it's both.
reptiles.
I know Gator. I know definitely Gator because Florida, University of Florida's mascot is Gator,
That's
and
right,
I
that's right.
enjoy delicious Gator rolls when they play LSU. Gator is delicious.
You're right. There are crocodiles as well. Alligators are more numerous, but they call crocodiles too. Wow, they have both. That's crazy. And snakes.
You know,
So yeah,
Florida, Australia.
yeah, so if you aren't familiar with Florida, if you're not from the United States or you're just not familiar, so Florida is in the south of the United States. It's very humid. It's right off the warm parts of the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean. And so very humid, known to have lots of critters because of its tropical
Yep.
climate. And it's, very Americana for, kind of people living, yeah, in swampy areas. You do have nice areas. You have Miami, the party area. You have Orlando, the
Yeah.
tourist area. But there's lots of areas that are not like that.
And Florida is also like got this reputation of where people go to retire, people go and escape to Florida. Like Florida does have a reputation of like, I'm moving to the Sunshine State type reputation where people when they want to escape, they go to Florida, just like Taylor said. Like that is a common like American theme of like going to Florida. Um, yeah. And it's also really hot and it's known, yeah, its nickname is the Sunshine State, where kind of like California, where you don't expect a lot of rain unless it's hurricane season.
Which we will talk about.
Yes.
The other thing about Florida that I always think about is the Florida man stereotype. So there's always like a news story about like some person doing something crazy, like holding up a gas station with holding an alligator, right? Like just like weird things happening, and it's just kind of accepted in Florida. Like, oh, it must be a Florida man. Like I was telling Exquisite, we both follow this TikTok guy who like literally goes barefoot into the swamp and just looks and picks up like lizards and snakes and just grabs them, and I'm just like, you're crazy.
Yep. So there's this theme of like people from Florida being like wild.
Yeah,
wild
wild.
people.
Yeah, it's a wild place. I think that's a great way to put it. All right, do you want me to get into the song? You can beat the heat if you beat the charges too. They said I was a cheat. I guess it must be true. And all my friends smell like weed or little babies, and the city reeks of driving myself crazy. Little did you know your home's really only a town you're just a guest in. So you work your life away just to pay for a timeshare down in Destin. Florida is one hell of a drug. Florida, can I use you up? Exquisite strumming
dude,
while I.
dude. I need this song to get a music video or a performance or something because I need Florence and Taylor in the same room and they can play drums that have like water in them. Yeah. Um, I love the opening lines of Florida because you can beat the heat if you beat the charges too. Works on like two different levels. Heat as in like you can beat like literally the weather, but also heat means um police are after you. That's like a term. Like the heat is you got a lot of heat on you because the police are coming after you. So she's like, you can beat the heat if you beat the charges. So like you can get away from the heat if like the charges are dropped or whatever.
Or if you
And I just
escape their jurisdiction, is what I think.
exactly literally escape their jurisdiction. Um and I just love that because she's literally the song opens up with her setting up this like runaway murderer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the prison imagery, the crime imagery continues here.
Yeah, and I love they said I was a cheat. I guess it must be true because I guess that they could be applied to the police or just a random they. Um and she's like, "Well, it must be true. It's probably true. The rumors are terrible and cruel, but most of them are true." And I also love that the my friends all smell like weed or little babies lie
It's so
because
funny.
that's literally what it is just being an adult. Like some of your friends are having children and the rest are just high out of their mind, and some are both.
It's true. Some are both.
It's what it's like being in grad school.
No, for me, the guess I was they said I was a cheat line. Yeah, I think it could be a reference to actual infidelity. We do know there's been like, she's alluded to that a little bit high infidelity. Like, I was dancing around it, but I think it also could be like if the they is like the music industry or like the world being like, how is she so good at the game? She must be cheating. Like people are saying that about her all the time. Like, oh, her dad like owns the record company that she, like I was like, you
Which
know,
is made up.
yeah, like so many jobs that Scott Swift has. But right, like but yeah, her reputation is gigantic, right? Like all these things they say about her, like you said, that new romantic reference. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I love those last two lines. I love that my friends all smell, but then the city reeks. Like that,
Yes.
like
Really
reek is such a strong word,
smells
and
bad.
of driving
Like,
myself crazy. Like again, we're going back to the manic. We're going back to the she's not well, um, and we'll talk more about her state of mind as we keep going. But yeah,
yeah.
this is a
And
great opening.
and we also know we know because she tells us later that the city that she's referring to is Texas.
Yes,
Somewhere in Texas. So what do you think of that pre-chorus? Well, the chorus.
the little did you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that she found that rhyme Guestin and Destin, I know she was giggling. She was like googling list of Florida cities in the studio. But it's crazy. One of my coworkers went on vacation in Florida, and so like I didn't know the name of the town, so like I like Googled it, and then like right next door was Destin, and I was like, oh my gosh! I didn't say anything because I didn't want to sound like a crazy person. But if you don't know, a timeshare is basically you pay this company to like rent a special like condo, villa,
Yeah.
apartment, and you get it for a certain number of like days or weeks in a year. And for the rest of the year, they take care of it and they kind of rent it out to other people and they take care of the upkeep. And that's very common in Florida where people will do a timeshare so that in the cold winter months, if they live in like New York or Boston, they'll drive or fly down to Florida for those couple weeks while it's super cold. And so Destin is one of those towns that's on the Florida coast in the Gulf of Mexico. And so very
Mhm.
warm, very tropical. It's a lot of people like that's what they save up for timeshares.
Yeah. That is what they say. And typically, like, you go to visit Florida and you're roped into a timeshare. Sometimes you don't want to do it.
Oh, I've heard lots of stories.
And you get roped into because they'll offer you free food, and then you'll get lured into doing a presentation about a timeshare.
And they won't let you go till you sign.
Yeah. I love the drums right after Florida. Like,
Wait, don't
boom.
go too far yet. We'll stay in this little section. So, little did you know, your home's only a town you're just a guest in. Like, it's really sad that when your home is not a home anymore, like your home's just
Yeah.
a place.
And we discussed this on in So Long London, that it's not home. It's just a
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, and you're just a to be just a guest in in a house when you think that's your place you're gonna live forever. That's just so sad. And so then you work your life away. You just you are like, all right, I have to get out. I have to go somewhere else. It's so sad.
And you work, that's also an American thing, an Americana thing of just like working and working and working and working just so you can escape and move somewhere nice.
Yeah, there's no work-life balance. It's just work until you die.
Yeah. Until you die with the hopeful goal of being able to move to Florida.
Yeah. Is little did you know, would you consider that foreshadowing? Or is that like,
Yes, kind of. I think it's like I don't want to say the word foreshadowing because I feel like she's talking to her past self.
okay.
Um, that's like looking at her younger self who's like happy in Texas or whatever, and she's like, "Little did you know, this home that you're talking about, it's not really your home. It's just a town."
So sad. All right, now you can talk about the drums. Go.
Yay. I just love the drums. I love that beat. I love the fact that it's beating out the word Florida. You hit 7 times after saying Florida for Florida, and it's great.
I've
It's
never counted
great.
that.
Yep. It's great. That's how I know the beat because I start spelling Florida as I'm clapping along to the boom boom boom. And I love that she's like, it's a drug. It's one hell of a drug. It's not just any drug. It's a fantastic drug. It's one hell of a drug. Um, and it's going to heal her. It's going to make her feel something. And that's why she wants to go to Florida. She needs to feel something after
That's
working her life away.
fascinating. I thought about it the opposite way. I thought it was like to take away the pain, to numb, not necessarily to heal,
Ooh.
but to like unfeel. But I think it
I
could be multiple now that you say that.
I think it could be both.
Yeah.
Like maybe in different verses. Like it could be both because especially because we have the fact that Florence and Taylor are going back and forth. So maybe the Taylor who is like, "Oh, my friends, they are have weed and I'm going crazy in the city. I need to get away." Maybe she's looking for a numbing and Florence is looking for a feeling, or maybe it's Taylor Singer looking for a feeling.
Yeah, either way, she wants the drug to work.
Yeah,
Whatever side effects, she'll take them all.
exactly. She wants to use it up.
Yeah, and isn't like I mean, isn't Florida like known for like smuggling drugs too? Like just in general.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
like a hive cartel word.
Yeah. No.
Cocaine.
Yeah, we're not saying that's the drug Taylor wants to use, but I'm just saying like this is again, smuggling was a very common pastime for Americans from the colonies, colonial
And
era.
I mean, if we really want to get into like ugh, of it all, when you think about Florida and like the ideas it gets, you have a lot of like racist stereotypes of people coming because Florida is on the edge, but it's close to a lot of islands. So it's like immigrants coming in through Florida. And also, when you remember, Florida was colonized by Spain first, and America just got its hands on it. Um, it's like it's Spanish, and so they're like, haha, cocaine, and there's so much cocaine in Florida, and that gave way to a lot of unhealthy stereotypes.
Yeah.
But that's also that's part of Florida's legacy.
Hmm.
Uh, in fact, the state where I'm from, Georgia, it was originally created as a colony to help protect against Florida.
Like a buffer.
Yeah, literally from the Spanish in Florida, because the Spanish were just down there colonizing it up, and they were also colonizing in Louisiana, which is a whole other thing. Louisiana was colonized by the Spanish, the French, and then America, and then it was bought. So that's
American
why
history,
Louisiana.
fascinating.
Yes, American history, fascinating stuff. So yeah, so there's this whole thing about like Florida cocaine.
Yeah. So I mean, we're just adding to the lore of the song.
Getting you in the atmosphere.
All right, do you want to read the next section?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. This is Florence's line, where she comes in and she goes, "The hurricane with my name when it came, I got drunk and I dared it to wash me away. Barricaded in the bathroom with a bottle of wine. Well, me and my ghost, we had a hell of a time. Yes, I'm haunted, but I'm feeling just fine. All my girls got their lace and their crimes, and your cheating husband disappeared. Well, no one asked any questions here. So I did my best to lay it to rest, all of the bodies that have ever been on my body and in my mind, they sink into the swamp. Is that a bad thing to say in a song?
This song
Um,
is so funny. Like
I
people, it's so underrated how funny this album is, and especially this song. Like, is that a bad thing to say in a song? Is so funny.
know. Just admitting to murder in a song. Um, and I love that when she sings, is that a bad thing to say in a song? Because it had been all Florence, and then here you get Taylor in that line with her going, is that a bad thing to say in a song? It's great.
Yeah, are they kind of singing together near the end? All of the bodies that have been on
Yeah.
my body.
Right
Yeah,
around the end,
yeah,
they Taylor comes back in and joins her.
yeah.
Um, but I love this whole verse. I love there's so much imagery just packed in. Um, and I don't know, do other countries name their hurricanes like America does?
Oh, I don't know, but explain it anyway.
Okay, so when hurricane weather comes, and for those of you who don't know, hurricanes are like wind, rain, flooding. It's all kind of insane stuff that comes up off the coast. Typically, hits the south. But I'm sure. Do you guys get hurricanes in California?
No, our waters are too cold. Sometimes we'll get a little bit of the tail end of one that if it hits Mexico, but
Oh,
not so. Yeah,
I know like it's rare for them to get them up north, but it's definitely like a thing. We have a whole hurricane season. Um, but when hurricanes come, we name them, and the naming process is they go a male name and then a female name, and they go down the alphabet. So if Hurricane Albert comes, if there's another hurricane, they'll name her like Bertha. So they'll go down the alphabet like that. And if a hurricane is really bad, its name gets retired. So like they'll never name a hurricane Katrina again, and they'll never name another one Sandy because it was a really bad hurricane. So in the song, Florence sings the hurricane with her name. So Hurricane Florence came to Florida, and instead of like hiding away or like evacuating, she stays. And a lot of people do tend to stay. And there's a whole thing like hurricane parties, you wait out the hurricane. Well, she has a hurricane party with her ghost. So she stayed when the hurricane comes, and she says she got drunk and she dared Hurricane Florence to meet her and wash her away. Like she's standing, staring at the hurricane and daring it to do something to her because she's like, I'm Florence too. Um, and so then she like went in her bathroom and it's just her, a bottle of wine that she's drunk on, and her ghost in this bathroom.
I love.
It's
Yeah, I
fantastic
think
image.
because of TikTok, I saw more hurricane parties. I like didn't really know what they were, but I'm like, oh, like that makes sense. Like they, if you're not in like a super floody zone, and they're just like, don't move, don't leave your house, right? Like you could
Mhm.
just chill. There actually was a Hurricane Florence in 2018. For those of you who don't know, it did hit Florida, although it hit I think the Carolinas harder. Yeah, the daring me to wash me away, it's both defiant, but it's also like kind of a death wish. Like, why would you,
Literally.
like, it's not like a normal, like, response.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah, it's definitely, she feels this compulsion to, because maybe of these ghosts that are haunting her, to be like, well, maybe I need to die, or maybe I need to just have it end. But she says, I'm feeling just fine. Maybe she's just drunk. Maybe she's like, you know what? I've made it through these terrible, perhaps like bad relationships, and now I'm going to overcome this too. There's this, like I said, defiance. And
Hmm.
she and her girls got their lace and their crimes. What do you think about that?
I love that. I'm like, are the girls also the ghosts? Because she's
Hmm.
hanging out. She said, "Me and my ghosts, we're hanging out. We're having a great time because they also have their own crimes and they look beautiful. Like they have their little lace maybe gloves on."
Yeah, maybe it's like the when I think about it, I think about like a legacy of women who've done similar things, who've
Yeah.
had to murder their or their cheating husbands have disappeared, right? Like, and they're all hanging out with her in the bathroom.
And what's better here, like again, that cheating husband, she goes, and your cheating husband disappeared. So part of me feels like she has invited um Taylor into her space and she's like, your cheating husband disappeared, but it's okay because none of us are gonna ask you any questions because my girls, we all have our own crimes as well.
I love that. I always thought of that "your" as like talking to me, the listener, but she
Mm.
definitely, yeah, could be talking to Taylor. Like she arrived in Florida, right, in her little car, just in time for a hurricane, and she's like, "Hey, like I've got a bottle of wine, like come
Like, come
barricade your
on.
yeah, let's." I love, and then cheating husband. Obviously, we seen it in No Body, No Crime in Taylor's work, in this album on Fortnite, right? That's definitely been a metaphor that she's used before.
Do you know what I like imagine? And you can tell me like this is irrelevant. But what I like to imagine is that from the first verse, Taylor has like driven down to Florida. She's in Destin and she's at a bar. And we get Florence at the bar and she's telling her that first line. She's like, "Hey, you remember Hurricane Florence when it came? I was like, hey, you should wash me away." Like she's saying all this in past tense. And she's like, "Yeah, and we had fun in that bathroom." And then she goes, "Yeah, I'm haunted, but I'm doing great. So your husband, he disappeared and I get that, but we're not going to ask you any questions." Like they're at the bar and that's when we get like Taylor's voice coming back in. And again, I love this line. "So I did my best to lay it to rest all of the bodies that have ever been on my body." Because for me, not only is it them to like maybe commiserating, but it also reads to me a lot like almost a thesis statement for TTPD if we want to go there as well.
I love
Like,
that.
oh, this is doing her best to stop digging up the grave. Like, lay it to rest means to literally bury it in the ground, bury it in the ground. Um, so she's like, "I'm doing the most I can to every person who's ever touched me. I want to bury them away." Um, and she's like, she imagines just dropping those dead bodies off in the swamp.
I love that idea as being like a thesis statement of TTPD. All of the so I did my best to lay to rest all of the bodies that have ever been on my body, and just finding a way to really settle them, which is crazy because she's kind of sung about this before, like moving on from her past
Mhm.
relationships. And it's crazy how in this album, especially in the anthology with songs like The Manuscript and even Chloe et al., where she's
Mhm.
really re-examining them.
Yep.
um
And then packing them away.
yeah, and I guess because maybe before she like hastily buried them, or it wasn't like a proper post mortem per se,
Yeah.
whereas now they've kind of been exhumed, and so she had to like bury them, and I really like that as being kind of a catalyst. I mean, even in the one in Folklore, right? You know, in my defense, I have none for digging up the grave another time. Like, I feel like
Yep.
she's always kind of known, like, there are things that maybe I felt resolved but weren't.
Hmm. And so now she's like, "I'm doing my absolute best to bury them all and let them sink into the swamp." That's why part of why she came to Florida. And again, I just love that. Is that a bad thing to say in the song? Because they're also like, I love it when Taylor breaks the fourth wall and she like is telling us this is a song. I love when Taylor breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Um, but she's also like, is that a bad thing to go ahead and admit on record that we
Yeah.
are killing people? But also, is it a bad thing to admit that um, I've been all this time trying to bury all these, digging up graves and trying to bury them again? Is that a bad thing to admit? in
Yeah.
this song.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like, yes, killing people, but also this idea that, like, hey, like, maybe I'm not over these people that I thought I would be over, right? Like, oh,
Yep.
gosh, I feel like there's so many songs where it's like, oh, I forget their name now. Feel so very tame now, right? Like,
Yeah. Or I
that's,
forgot that you existed.
yeah, like, those are songs from Reputation and Lover, and we're years later, she's like, wait, like, I'm not over these things. And, she's been criticized over the years for, like, oh my gosh, she just writes breakup songs. But I think Taylor and many people know, like, hey, like, if you've been hurt, especially if it's been traumatic, like, that can take a toll on you and really needs to be excavated and cleaned. And we've talked about re-breaking bones to reset them properly. Like, that's part of growing up and healing.
Yep. Yep. And also it's just a funny line. It's
Yeah, it's so
hilarious.
good.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny. The pre-chorus changes a little bit if you want to read that.
Little did you know, your home's really only a town you'll get arrested. So you pack your life away just to wait out the shitstorm back in Texas. And I can't believe she was able to rhyme all of them. Destin, Destin, arrested, Texas. Like, girl, like, I know when she found Destin, she was, again, like, jumping up and down. But here, again, we have the little did you know, your home is not a home. It's just a place where they know where to find you, right?
Yes.
Like, they know where you live.
Get arrested. That's why you have to leave. And she lets us know, she's like, the place is Texas. Texas is where she ran away from.
Yeah.
At least in the context of this song. And she's like, there's a shitstorm over there in Texas, so I need to go to Florida and wait it out.
Yeah.
I'm waiting it out.
So if you don't know, in the States, if you're charged with a state crime, you can, like, try to run across state lines because they don't necessarily have jurisdiction in the other state, and that's why she's running the states away. Granted, all these states have, like, all the cops work together. They will, get, like, one of those, what are those called when they, like,
warrants?
Yeah, they have warrants. They'll have permission to extradite you from another state, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, it's harder if you run away from that state.
Yeah, and if you run away for long enough, the charges will just drop on their own.
Yeah, statute of limitations. But it depends on the crime. We're not saying just do a crime and escape.
We do not promote crime over here on the Taylor Seminars. We may support women's wrongs, and we do.
But please don't commit crimes.
Don't commit a crime. Don't say what you do.
Yeah, so that's what that's to wait it out, right? Whether they drop the charges, they expire because of the statute of limitations, or they give up. The police give up looking for you.
Yeah. So the shitstorm's in Texas, so she's got to go to Florida.
Once again, it's a hell of a drug, and she wants to use it up.
So I'm wondering, like, which one do you think this one is? Is this a numbing drug, or is she looking for a stimulating drug?
I just feel like she's so sad. I think both of these are, like, numbing, actually, the first and the second. I think maybe at the end, maybe she wants a little bit more of the hope, but I see this song as much more dark, so I don't feel like she's really thinking about healing. I think she's thinking about escaping.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Maybe a hallucinant.
Oh, yeah, it could be that too.
Maybe. It's drugs do all kinds of different things. We don't know which, actually. We kind of do know. I feel like the bridge can help elucidate some things.
Mm-hmm.
So literally on the bridge, we get this super cool back and forth.
Oh, I love it.
Between Taylor and Florence. So Taylor says, I need to forget, so take me to Florida. So maybe she wants a drug that numbs her, makes her forget in some way. And then Florence says, I've got some regrets. I'll bury them in Florida. And Taylor goes, tell me I'm despicable. Say it's unforgivable. And they both go, at least the dolls are beautiful. Fuck me up, Florida. And then they repeat that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love the fact that they're going back and forth. And this is part of what like goes to my theory of Florence already having been in Florida and had met Taylor there, because she's not saying take me to Florida. She's saying I'll bury them in Florida. I'll bury my regrets in Florida. So she's already there. She's already had the same
Mm-hmm.
inclination to run away to Florida, I think. Um, but I just love this back and forth. I love the I need to forget, and I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and I feel like the "tell me I'm despicable, say it's unforgivable," like those are the words that I think are chasing Taylor as she runs into Florida, right? These are the words of the people in Texas back home. You're despicable. What you've done is, it's an unforgettable crime.
Yeah.
But then their twist is at least the dolls are beautiful. Like at least,
Yeah, she's like, we suck, but the dolls are gorgeous.
yeah.
And for those who don't know, dolls is also like a term of endearment for trans women as
Mm-hmm.
well. So it's so fun.
Happy
At least the
Pride.
dolls literally happy pride. 2 songs in a row, happy pride. And she's like this could go back to literally the Florence being like, hey, all my girls got their lace in their crime, so we're doing great. And then you get back to like, tell me I'm terrible, but at least it's beautiful here.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And
uh
then we have a change up. It's not like, can I use you up, Florida? It's fuck me up, right?
mm-hmm.
It's like mess up my life. I mean, my life's already messed up. So like, take me somewhere different. Take me somewhere new. Like, it could be almost like a dare, just kind of like when she said, I got drunk and I dared it to wash me away. Like, Florida, I dare you to do something worse to me, but maybe the worse is better.
Yes, maybe it's better. Maybe it's better. Um yeah, and then we get the when it's repeated, there's a the slight change, the tell me I'm despicable, say it's unforgivable. What a crash, what a rush. Fuck me up, Florida. So I love that as well. Like crash as in crashing down from a drug.
From a
And rush
high.
is also like the head rush that comes from doing drugs as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, it could be about the car that she bought in Florida from Fortnite.
Yeah, like
So
a car crash,
crashing.
like an accident. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many crashes. Yeah, and then that rush of that accelerator, like driving. Um, Loving you is like driving a new Maserati down a dead end street. Like
Yeah.
I
It's
kind
a
of get that.
rush. It's a rush to go really fast.
Yeah.
Um, And then we get this again. There's this like you get Taylor in the background going, "Love left me like this, and I don't want to exist. So take me to Florida."
Yeah, so we know that this is obviously running from if it wasn't clear before, like a bad relationship, right? Where she
Yeah.
love or maybe the loss of love or hurt
Hmm.
love or whatever, it made her want to maybe kill somebody, maybe at least run
Yeah.
away. And
Left her despicable and unforgivable.
yeah, and then I love the I don't want to exist because I can interpret it in two ways. One is that, right, she wants to take a new identity, like she talked about in that interview clip. But also
Mhm.
it means she wants to die, right? Like I don't
Yeah,
want
literally. And I mean, it's all over this. It's all over the album. I want to die so bad. But
Yeah.
so, and that's also like a point towards drugs to feel something.
Yeah.
I don't want to exist, so take me to Florida.
Yeah. It's pretty wild like this because we also know we haven't really touched on this, but like drugs can lead to overdose, can lead to death.
Yep.
Right? Like it's not
Yep.
like just fun and recreational. Like even lighter quote unquote drugs can be deadly or devastating, right? And so
Yeah. Use
um,
responsibly.
it's what?
And obviously, I said use responsibly. And it's obvious in the song she is not using responsibly.
Yeah,
She's not
totally.
trying to. And Florence is in the background, like encouraging her to not use responsibly. There's this great background vocal. And for those of you who don't have Apple Music, you're missing out on Dolby Atmos because you can hear it so clearly of Florence in the background going, take me to Florida. And it holds out while they're doing the like lead vocals over top of that, and it's so cool. But take me to, and they break, and then Florida. Oh, it's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. The production on this is amazing. Good job, Jack.
Yeah, great job. And then we have, like we said in the very beginning, like this is mania, right? This is her not thinking clearly, right? She is escaping
Uh-huh.
a bad situation and the first thing she thinks to do is not like take consequence like what are the consequences like, getting a lawyer. It's booking it across like halfway across the country, right? To
Not
try to
doing the responsible thing.
yeah, to try to just restart her life somehow, but also like to do so through drugs.
Yep. Through a drug and probably through like, which again, not healthy. She's not using responsibly. She's not being responsible here. She's asking Florida, like, will you let me use you up?
Yeah.
Because Love used me up.
Yeah.
And you have Florence over there supporting it, being like, yes, yes, do it because I did it. And
And
we were fine.
me and my ghost, we had hell of a time.
And she's like, yes, I'm haunted and everything sucks, but I'm fine. I feel great.
And I think that's part of like the manic too, is feeling like you're invincible, right? Like I can do, these irresponsible things and I'm gonna come out fine on the other side.
That's literally how mania does make you feel, like
Yeah.
entirely invincible.
Yeah. Anything else about the outro or anything?
No, because it's repeated lyrics. It just sounds so nice, and I do love the ending of like all the drums and all the like loudness falls away, and it's just go on, fuck me up. Like she's telling it, like I'm giving you permission, just pull me apart, make me change me, do something.
Yeah.
Uh,
It feels like she just started snorting. It just hasn't stopped.
Literally, she's at that table with Florence, and they're in some dingy, ratty bar in Florida. And Florence just passes her whatever it is they're using. And she's like, all right, this is exactly what I need.
And I think it's and so the reason I love this song too is just how it kind of fits into her discography. Like so I looked it up. So the first time she actually mentions drugs in any of her albums is in Reputation in the song Don't
Yep.
Blame Me. My drug is my baby. I'll be using for the rest of my life, right? She was already addicted to the love she had previously, right? She was addicted to it. And that drug either having been cut off from her or hurt her in some way where she had to find a different addiction, a different drug. Florida.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? She basically had to cut off from the drug cold turkey. We know this.
Yep.
And going cold turkey is not good. So she went and found something else.
Yeah. No, really.
Yeah. Also, it's so interesting because you can track, well, technically, no, you can track Taylor's, we'll just say substance use on albums.
Yeah.
And it's it tells a very interesting story because it does start in Reputation, but we know from what Taylor kept from us and then gave to us with the 1989 re-recordings, it was kind of there too with Slut, but she was like, and that's where she's like drunk in love.
Yeah.
So she's done that. She's like done it before. We're equating love to drugs, but she kept that from us for a while. She was self-editing. But then on Reputation, that's when it really becomes like she's like
mostly alcohol.
Yep. Yeah. And love making her crazy on Don't Blame Me. Like all of this, she's like equating it to drugs and drinking. And yeah, all kinds of alcohol. Oh boy. And then even in Lover, she then equates him to like a god or whatever. Or well, their love is a god. So love is a substance to abuse, something to worship. And because of this, she's cut cold turkey when she leaves, and she's like, love left me like this. So she's like, I need something to fill this hole or whatever. And this all becomes, when we eventually get to So High School, we'll have to circle back because in the way she talks about love, like does this little switch that I think is really cool. Where like it's more healthy.
Gotta wait a couple months, guys.
We gotta wait a while.
No, and we even have, a little reference back to this Florida drug on Fortnite, right? I took the miracle move on drug. The effects were temporary, right? Like all these drugs, if you think about it, are temporary. Like even my drug is my baby I'll be using for the rest of my life. Like what happens if that and what if that supply runs out, or what if, something happens to you and, you realize, oh, that's not good. Like a drug is a very dangerous metaphor.
Yeah. And then the problem is, even though she knows there's going to be a come down, she literally goes, what a crash. What a rush. She's like, oh no, we're in danger here.
And that's the thing with a lot of relationships too, right? Like the dissolution of a relationship, you have ups and downs. You have days where you're like, I'm fine. I'm an independent woman. I can, who needs them? And then there's days where you are just devastated. Like, oh my gosh, who am I? My life has fallen apart. And then you get those ups and downs. And then, she's like, well, I'm going to enjoy this journey as long as I have this new.
Like a roller coaster.
Yeah. As long as I have this new drug. Oh yeah. Like what a crash, what a rush. Like I can handle
Like
it.
it's all feels so good. And so she's like, let me start all over. And again, she only needed one person to be like, yes, go for it. Go for it. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I did.
So we're not
I'm
saying
great.
we're not saying Florence in real life did this, but
No,
she is
obviously.
she is representing just this part of her. Maybe there was a friend or two, but like a part of her that was like, yeah, just dive into this drug. Like just that's the only way you're gonna be able to ride out the
Yeah.
all of this stuff that's
Only way
happening.
you can wait it out. Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? I also was just looking at like you look at the credits, and I love the fact that part of this was recorded in New Orleans.
Yes. Oh yes. Let's talk
Uh,
about that.
I love that. I love that it's recorded all over the place, except Florida, actually.
Doesn't have a studio there. I think the New Orleans thing is right around her birthday, right?
Yeah, I
So
think
is that a
so.
couple weeks after you're losing me?
I don't know if that timing is proper. I think it may have been. It just said I don't know who was recording in New Orleans.
I think because I've seen rumors that this is the one where she was holding up 33 in her Instagram photo where she was having her birthday in the studio and she's like, nowhere else I'd rather be. And so, I mean, true, but also Taylor, go celebrate your birthday with your friends.
Yeah, we've got New Orleans, New Jersey, Los Angeles, New York, and London, all parts of this.
Oh, this is also the funny one that has Oddities by Emily Jean Stone. If you don't know, that's her bestie Emma Stone. We
And
don't.
you just wonder, what is Emma? What oddities
Yeah, so
is Emma?
it could be like like clapping or like noises that they used in the production. But I do think that that's really funny. She adds another strong female into the mix.
Yeah,
Along with and Laura Sisk always there, amazing.
always there. It's so I love reading the credits because the credits tell their own story as well.
Hmm.
Um, but I just wanted to add that because I just think it's so neat. It's so neat. Um, but yeah, sometimes you just got some regrets.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you do,
You gotta regret.
and I think I kind of wish we not kind of wish, but I think one of the things we touched on a little bit, and we could talk a little bit about more, is like in songs like "But Daddy, I Love Him," and even in this song, like these are snapshots of a moment in time, right? Like it doesn't necessarily mean like she thinks everyone should just go to Florida and whatever. It's just in this moment, like what was kind of the mania that she felt and how could she tell a really cool story about it? And I think this story is so cool. Like this is like a
It's so
Dateline.
delightful.
This is like a Dateline story. This is like one of those
Not like
true crime
nobody no
podcasts.
crime, but
Yeah.
better. Not
Ooh, people
obvious.
are gonna hate you for that.
No
Actually, I
crime
agree.
fans. I'm sorry,
No, I
but
agree.
yes, it's definitely a better.
I definitely love Florida more.
Um, I also was saying, I wonder how people who are from Florida felt. I know a couple people who are like so excited that they get a shout out. As well as people who are from Texas who are like, why is the shit storm in Texas? But I know people from Destin, Florida, who are probably having their little listening parties were so excited.
Yeah, it's like when I got my Hannah shout out.
Yeah, or like Taylor said Georgia super early on in her career, where she's like put those Georgia stars to shame, and I just like grin. I'm like, oh, she said Georgia. Like Georgia and Florida are states mentioned. New York gets a mention. Like I'm like, what other states get mentions in Taylor songs? That's something someone else can figure
Well,
out.
we do get Motown and SoCal in London Boy, so we get a little California, Michigan.
California,
So she's gonna
she's not. And also an Americana again. This is so American. It's so American. It's Florida.
yeah, it's
It's running away from the police.
yeah, running over literally they're so American. We're the country that puts like car chases on our TVs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also I do not see this present day for whatever reason. For whatever reason, when I listen to the song, I put a sepia filter over it, and I'm like, this is so 1970s for literally no good reason other than my mind being like, this is the 1970s.
Mm. Yeah, I kind of put it through. I put it through like a true crime podcast filter, and those are always a little bit in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love this song so much.
So delightful. I love everything that goes on in the background of the song. Again, like if you listen and you listen just to the background vocals, it's like, whoa, Florence is just doing what she does. I love the way Taylor performs in this song as well. I love her performance she's putting on. A lot of people were worried she wouldn't hold up against Florence, which is like nuts to me because of course she can hold her own, and she definitely did. And it's fantastic. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
she sounds amazing. From If You Can Beat the Heat, You Could Beat the Charges too. That two
Yep.
is so
Yep.
sexy. And then when she sings like "Fuck Me Up, Florida," it's just so like, ugh. Yeah, it's great.
And I love Taylor literally when she handed Florence the reins. Like she's like, we're not fighting over this. She's like, you give me advice in the song, you do it. And she like so Florence is just all over. Like you can feel her like fingerprints all through the song where they're just um some people were like it feels more like a Florence song with a Taylor feature, and I don't agree. It does feel like a really thoroughly like mixed collab of both of them.
I agree.
Um, but I love that when Florence gets in it, she's like, I'm gonna be wordy as hell in my 40 seconds. Like I'm about to be as wordy as possible.
I love it.
It's fantastic because the way she says all of it, like all of the bodies that have ever been on my body and in my mind, they sing it just like she says it so cool. And I think it's all so cool. Um, and I love the atmosphere of the song. It sounds like cloudy and stormy as well. Like again, Jack did a really good job producing this.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Um, I think this is just a delightful roller coaster of a song about two women in a bar having after killed somebody, you know?
Oh, we don't
It's just
know. He just disappeared.
yeah. Yeah, he didn't sing it to the swamp or anything. They were just talking in metaphors.
I know. Do you have any emoji ideas for this week?
I want it like everything I want to say is kind of obvious. Maybe roller coaster.
Yeah, I think a roller coaster would be perfect. So yeah, if you made it to the end of the podcast, we thank you so much because yeah, it's so fun talking to my friend, but also hearing your thoughts. And so if you reply with a roller coaster to our tweets or to if you hashtag TTPD seminars with your thoughts, we would absolutely love it. And
Yes.
thanks to Aleph Vernon once again for doing our beautiful logo. And we will see you guys next week for Guilty as Sin.
Yes, we will.
So excited. Okay, bye.